it's been 2 weeks since I landed back into Melbourne, and yeah, I'm missing being in America. Wow, didn't think I'd say that. uh, but I guess a lot of the experiences that I had while I was there definitely has left a big impression on me, especially being able to catch up with a lot of people that I actually, met online, including the couple gaming family and community members, plus my own community members, which has been really awesome. So I thought I would reminisce and talk to you all about my US trip and maybe sort of like fill in some blanks that you didn't get to see on my socials that I didn't really post on. So if you do want to see some photos and a few video clips here and there of my time in America, you can head over to my Instagram page at Foolish Fuji. And of course, you will find that link and other social links in the description of this podcast. So please go check it out if you'd like to see a visual of what I got up to while I was away. But I thought I would start off with the first city that I landed in, and that, my friends, was New York City. So I landed into JFK Airport, and let me just say, JFK, you really know how to welcome all of the newbies into the country. Going through customs wasn't great. I'll just put it that way. Took about, I don't know, maybe about an hour. Yeah, maybe hour? No, maybe not that bad. Probably about 45 minutes just to get through the long queue at customs at JFK Airport. Apparently, they were short-staffed, and yeah, it took a toll on me, especially considering the fact that I flew for probably about 18-ish hours. 3.5 hours from Melbourne to Auckland, New Zealand, and then from Auckland to New York. And that was, I'd say, about 15-ish hours, roughly, maybe a little bit less. So, yeah, like a total of like 18, 19 hours of flying. And to then be standing in a line waiting to be interrogated? I don't know. Kind of felt that way by a customs officer to say, hey, why are you here? Why are you visiting America? Literally had to go through my whole itinerary with them. My goodness, like you guys are very thorough. But yeah, so I had to go through that. So that was an experience in itself. So, thank you, America, for that. Yeah, and then once I finally got through customs, I picked up my bags and had to obviously head out to get I don't know, I ended up getting a taxi instead of an Uber, which I don't know if it was maybe the worst choice, but it wasn't really the, you know, it how do I explain it? As someone who doesn't usually take taxis, even here in Melbourne, because I drive myself around everywhere or I take public transport, if I was comfortable enough, I would have taken public transport. But considering the fact that but when I landed, it was the evening. So it was like after dinner time by the time I got out of the airport. And all I really wanted to do was just get to the hotel and chill and sleep, essentially, because I didn't really get much sleep on the plane heading in. Although I will say, I was lucky that my Auckland to New York flight I ended up with a whole row to myself. So it was one of those planes where The seat configuration was 343, and I was lucky enough. So I always choose on long haul flights, I always choose an aisle seat. I will always choose an aisle seat because I would rather not be inconvenienced by, actually, no, let me rephrase that. Sorry. I would rather be the one be inconvenienced to stand up to let someone out to go to the bathroom, or if they need to walk up and down the aisles or whatever, rather than be the one who has to annoy the person next to me to get up so that I can go to the bathroom or whatever. That's just how I am. I don't mind standing up or being interrupted. We're all on a plane. We're all going to the same destination. We all have the same feeling of tiredness and feeling cramped, especially in economy, and, needing to stretch, or, needing to use the bathroom and all that sort of stuff. So I understand that, and I do not mind getting up for the person sitting next to me to if they need to, get out of their seat. However, I always feel guilty for having to. I feel like I'm pestering the person next to me if I'm the one saying, sorry, I just need to get up and go to the bathroom or whatever, especially if I end up sitting next to someone who does fall asleep during the flight. And so I don't particularly want to be that person that gets stuck next to that person, because I know myself that I don't sleep well on flights. I thought I did. I don't. I do take short naps. And when I say short naps, I mean, anywhere between half an hour to an hour. Sometimes I'll be, I'll have my eyes closed for as long as I can, and I'll try to sort of slowly breathe into falling asleep in a way, but it doesn't usually happen for longer than an hour, I would say, before I end up, feeling uncomfortable and needing to move around, which means I'm waking up again anyway. So, being on the aisle seat is my preferred option, rather than inconvenience someone else to then having to move so that I can get up. I would rather just, get up whenever I feel like it. The point I was trying to make here, this particular flight I was on the way to New York, I ended up with a whole row to myself. So the 4-seat in the middle, I was sitting on one end of it, and then I found that nobody else ended up in the middle or on the end, because for some reason I thought there was going to be a person on the end of that row, of that 4 in the middle. So it was going to be me, 2 seats free, and then the other passenger. However, it turned out that either they didn't rock up or they ended up sitting somewhere else on the plane, because the flight wasn't full, thankfully. So that was actually a pleasant surprise, which meant that I had the opportunity to actually stretch my legs for a little while. And you know what? I was actually very thankful for that. It also gave me the opportunity to lie down for a bit. Granted, my feet still would have hung off the end of the row, because I'm not short enough to utilize the space to just stretch out like nice and straight. Because I am a little bit taller than most short people. I don't know if that's even a sentence. I'm 168 centimeters tall. So the length of that 4-seat row was still shorter than me. So I still ended up having to curl up a little bit. So my legs were still bent at one end. And although it was somewhat comfortable, I'm more of a sleep on my back type of person rather than on my side. And in this instance, I had to sleep on my side. And even though I did get, I think I managed to try and maybe get like a good maybe hour or so nap. I won't say I had a full sleep, but I did get, a decent amount of shut eye, we'll say. Um, I still felt very uncomfortable because, like I said, I usually sleep on my back, and sleeping on seats, airplane seats in economy, trying to lie down and not be able to stretch out my legs completely, was uncomfortable. But it was still bearable that I was still happy to lie down. I used up whatever pillows I could find, to sort of make so to cushion my head around where the armrest is on one end, so that I wasn't like just pushing my head against an armrest and feeling the jabbing pain of it. And yeah, and then obviously blanket over the top, and I was good. So that was lucky for me on the way over to America. And then obviously going through customs and all that sort of stuff, and then trying to find my way to a hotel. Now, I ended up taking a New York taxi, which I didn't mind, and I knew it was going to cost me a lot of money, but I was trying to figure out a way to, get hotel transfers. Unfortunately, though, I couldn't figure out what company to go with in order to book it, and some of the companies, weren't allowing me to book like a week in advance or anything like that. It literally had to be, I don't know, maybe like a couple of days before, and I felt a little uncomfortable doing that, thinking, oh, isn't that a bit, too late and all that sort of stuff. And I think some of the sites weren't even allowing me to continue ahead because I was giving what it thought I was giving wrong information or whatever. So it didn't work out. But in saying that, I think taking the taxi was okay. It was totally fine. The one thing that I did notice, though, which was a big surprise to me, was the New York traffic. My goodness gracious me. I stayed in Times Square, which, great place to stay, but very hard to get to as a tourist. Let's just put it that way, especially from the airport. So, taxi to Times Square. Man, those New York streets are never not full. There were so many cars out on those streets, out on the freeways, and it took, how long did it take? I think it took about maybe another 45 to 50 minutes just to get from JFK to my hotel. And yeah, all I wanted to do was just get to my hotel so that I could just lay down on a bed. So yeah, that was interesting. So yeah, New York traffic. Wow. Not sure that I want to experience that again. But now that I know what to expect, I won't stay in the heart of New York City. So yeah, okay. So finally get to the airport. Oh my gosh, my brain's already like, hey, I want to leave. I finally get to my New York hotel, Times Square, and yeah, I go up to my room, and I did not realize I paid for a small cupboard for a room. It was a very expensive cupboard. Let me put it that way. For me, at least. I was only in New York for 4 nights. New York City, more specifically, for 4 nights. And I spent a lot of money just to stay in that hotel. And although the hotel was clean, it was neat and tidy, nothing to really complain about in that department. But the room for a single person was tiny. It was a box. It was literally enough room for a single bed, enough room to just get my suitcase through. And then there was also a small like bathroom attached to it as well. Look, that was fine. I guess the only reason why I'd be staying in that room more specifically is just to sleep and have a shower. Most of the other time, I'd be outdoors experiencing the city itself. So yeah, I ended up just staying in my hotel room. I couldn't be bothered with anything. I didn't eat anything. I don't think I had dinner. I may have had some snacks in like that I had brought from Melbourne with me, like dry snacks. When I got to the hotel, that's literally all I really had. So I was like, all right, well, this is me for the night. Because by the time I got to my hotel, it was like, I think it hit 9 p.m. I think it was 9 p.m. by the time I got to my room and checked in and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, all I wanted to do was sleep. That's it. So I ended up setting myself up. I chucked on the TV to see, what kind of American shows I would come across while I was there. And and just logged into the hotel Wi-Fi and just lied on my bed and chilled out. That was it for me. But yeah, anyway, moving on from my arrival day. The next day was my first full day in New York City. So I got myself ready. I went downstairs. I decided that morning I am going to go out, and before it gets too busy, I'm going to find a place where they sell bagels. I'm going to get myself a bagel with some cream cheese because I love having, bagel and cream cheese. It's one of my favorite things to have as a breakfast item. But the first thing I was like, when I walked out of my hotel, I turned and walked towards the main area of Times Square, and I was in awe. I was like, oh wow, this is really cool. I'm seeing Times Square for the first time with my own eyes. It's, it's almost like it is on TV and in the movies. Seeing all these billboards and LED screens and flashing lights and just digital words scrolling across buildings. That was actually pretty cool to witness firsthand. And I was out there taking photos, not even 5 minutes, maybe 10. And then a group of quote unquote Minnie Mouses and a Mickey Mouse walked up towards me, saw that I was taking photos, got very excited, and, was wanting to share in my experience. They wanted to take photos with me. I was very confused. I was like, sure. I gave them my phone. They took photos with me in their Minnie Mouse mascot outfits. And then the moment they gave my phone back, I had a look at the photos. I turned around to thank them. And then all of a sudden I see them rolling up their sleeves, pointing at a wristband that said tips. And yeah, excuse me, but if you want tips, you clearly state that before taking someone's phone to take photos with. I could have been, if I wasn't so damn nice, I would have been like, I'm sorry, but you didn't tell me that I was expected to pay you for this. Why should I pay you? I know you're out here to make money, but I am not here for people to just walk up to me and say, hey, let's take photos together. People that I don't know. Yeah. They fleeced me for $60. Let's just put it that way. There was 6 of them, I think. Five. No, there was five of them. I had a $10 note. I gave one of them $10. I thought that would be enough to cover all of them. Apparently not. And then they were literally huddling around me like seagulls waiting for a chip. And, and I was like, I didn't really have much change when I got there. I was like, I literally only have a $50 note. Is there any way, before I could even finish that sentence, the male of the group said, that's okay. We'll share this $50 between the rest, between all of us. And I was thinking, oh, shit, what did I do? Why did I even do that? Oh, man. I could have argued. I would have been like, I'm sorry, but I don't want to be here paying. I don't want to give you this. I don't have any other change. But no. Yeah. That's what happened. Silly tourists got very, very distracted and was just too nice to say, no, go away. Not even 5 minutes outside in Times Square. Can you believe that? Damn you, New Yorkers. Far out. Yeah, that was an experience that I thought I'd share with you all as someone who's coming from the outside of the country. Yeah. So I've learnt my lesson. I will not do that again. Oh, if they ask me for photos next time I go there, no, thank you. I'm good. I can take my own selfies. Thank you. Piss off, essentially. Oh, boy. All right. So after that happened, I decided I'm going to get out of this space before anyone else comes up to me and asks me questions about taking photos with them. So I started walking. And I wanted to sort of stay where it was mostly crowded, but not really. I mean, it was early morning, so it wasn't like I was, there wasn't a lot open at the time. I think I was out there, and this is very weird for me. I was out there at about maybe 8 or 8:30 a.m. I'm not usually out of the house before that time. Unless there's a main reason like going to work. But yeah, for some reason, maybe my body clock was just like, you need to be awake right now. I was like, okay, I will just leave the hotel at this time. So yeah, ended up walking around a little bit, just having a look around to see what was available. There wasn't very many places for me to go in for breakfast specifically that I could see in the main Times Square area. So I kind of had to go into a side street. Don't worry, I didn't go down an alleyway or anything like that. It was a literal, like a main side, like a main street. And I walked up to what looked like a deli, to be honest, like a deli cafe sort of a style. And I walked in and I could see that they had bagels on the menu. So I thought, awesome, I'm going to get my bagel with cream cheese here. And I did. And I was very grateful. I also got some orange juice to go with it. And I just sat there for a good, I'm going to say maybe half an hour, maybe 45 minutes while I consumed my breakfast and just chilling for a moment, just relaxing. And then once I was done, I walked out and started sort of walking around the city area just to sort of get an idea of what there was. So I ended up walking over to the M&M store, which was really cool. So I walked over to the M&M store, and that was like, I don't know that, I don't think we have an M&M store here in Melbourne at least. So when I walked in there and I saw that it was like, I think it was like 2 or 3 levels, and it was just so colorful and really, really cool. Seeing all the statues of the different M&M characters was really awesome. See the amount of merch that's in there. My goodness, I did not expect to see so much M&M merch. You Americans really love your M&Ms. Uh, like I wasn't expecting a whole store dedicated to just M&M's, the brand, and the chocolate itself. But it was really nice to sort of walk in there and see what was available. I did end up buying a few pieces of merch while I was in there. So I ended up buying like some hairpins that had little mini M&Ms on the top of them, like 3 on each pin, which was really cute. And I ended up also getting a M&M's New York City pin badge, enamel pin, just to say, hey, I was here. And I also ended up grabbing a pair of M&M New York City pajama bottoms, so pajama pants. And the ones I got had a white background to it, and it had like specks of color throughout, including the M&Ms. I think like the actual letters M&M here and there in color, and then in black, sort of like silhouettes. All the iconic tourist attractions of New York City. Like for instance, I think it was Liberty Statue. I think like like Brooklyn, Brooklyn, and the Empire State Building and all that sort of stuff. So it was sort of like printed all over the pants, and they were actually really cool. I haven't worn them yet. Haven't really had a need to just yet, especially considering the fact that it is now summer at the moment here in Australia. So they've been locked away for cooler weather. So I will definitely wear them when the time comes. But yeah, I was really, it was really cool to find those. So I was like, yeah, I'm definitely buying these. These are really awesome. And yeah, I also bought myself like a handful of M&Ms, just cause I'm like, you can't just walk into an M&M store and not actually buy the candy itself. So I ended up getting a little bag, and I didn't get too much. So I think I got maybe, I can't remember. It was definitely less than half a pound. And most of it was just blue M&Ms, because of course it's going to be blue M&Ms. Blue is my favorite color. They're mostly the only M&Ms I ended up getting. So I ended up getting some blue, just regular chocolate M&Ms, the peanut M&Ms, and I think almond ones as well, if I'm remembering correctly. But then I also, obviously, because the mini M&Ms don't come in like color specific, it's literally rainbow or nothing. So I ended up getting a handful, like a little bit of just classic mini M&Ms, and also mixed in a little bit of the peanut butter mini M&Ms. So they were actually really cool, because we don't really get those here in Australia. So I thought, why not? But I was mesmerized by seeing all the tubes of M&Ms, and especially all of them being in like color specific tubes. Because I am that person who would probably pick out all of the blue M&Ms out of the packet and eat those first or last, depending on how I'm feeling, and try to eat the rest first. So I'm glad I was able to just get blue ones. That made me happy. So that was cool. So the M&M store was really interesting to see, and I loved that they had also like some art going on, and you could get custom M&Ms too, like M&Ms with a custom print on them. Now, when I was there, the queues were quite long for that process, and I thought I was very much thinking about doing that for Extra Life. And I will talk about Extra Life soon. But I thought to myself, A, it's going to cost a little bit more than just getting regular M&Ms. But B, it was just going to take a lot of time. And I was actually meeting up with my cousin at the time on that day. So I thought, I'm not going to have time to do this today. So how about I don't worry about that right now? So yeah, I ended up not doing that, but I bought everything else. I went back to the hotel and put my shopping away back into my hotel room and just waited for my cousin to rock up. So for those of you who don't know, I have a cousin who lives in New York City, more specifically in Long Island. And I did not know this until my mum told me about it the day before I actually flew out to New York. And mum's like, "Oh, by the way, your cousin lives there in New York. You should catch up with him. Get his phone number and catch up with him." And I'm like, "Wait, what? Since when does he live in New York?" My mum's like, "Oh yeah, he's been there for like maybe a year or so." And I'm like, "You're telling me now when I could have contacted him like ages ago and planned things out?" Anyway, so I have a cousin that lives in New York. And so I met up with him, and I was very happy to see him because I hadn't seen him for 12 years. The last time I saw him, because the last time I saw him was in Turkey. So he's a cousin of mine from my mum's side of the family. And yeah, I was super happy to be able to catch up with him because it had been too long. It had just been too long since we last caught up. And yeah, he's an awesome dude, and he was so nice to essentially chaperone me around New York while I was there. I like, even though he'd only been there for a year and a bit, he decided that just for me, he would take a couple of days off from his day job and just show me around and hang out with me and all that sort of stuff. And he was so insistent on paying for everything. I was like, "Dude, please let me pay for something." He's like, "No, you're here to visit, and I want to make sure that you have a great time. So I'm going to be paying for everything." I'm like, "But you probably don't even make a lot of money for this. Please let me pay for something." He literally did insist on paying for everything. And he would be upset if I didn't accept. So he's very kind and generous in that respect, and I really appreciate that of him. But yeah, I felt really bad because he was paying for a lot of stuff, and I was like, "Dude, you don't need to pay for everything. It's fine." But he did anyway. That's okay. I love him anyway. He's awesome. So yeah, I got to take in the sights with him. So that day, we literally sort of parked near one end of Central Park. We parked around that area. We went for a walk. We walked through Central Park together. And because there was, this park is massive. I didn't realize how long it was going for. We came across the Central Park Zoo. So I was like, "Hey, how about we just go into the zoo?" He's like, "All right, cool, let's go." So we walked into the zoo, and like, I wasn't expecting to see this tiny little zoo within a park. It's a decent size, but it's pretty small for a zoo. But I was surprised with the amount of like animals that we did end up seeing while we were in there. So that was awesome. Yeah, walked around in there for a bit. Wanted to make sure that we got our money's worth, of course. Uh, and then we also found out that, a little further up, there was a kids zoo, like a kids zoo section across from the main Central Park Zoo, which I didn't know that was a thing, that they would do like a kids zoo as well. But it's a lot smaller. So it's like a smaller area, limited animals. And I think some of the animals that are in there are like for kids to pet and take photos with and all that sort of stuff with families and all that. So that was also interesting. So, that was, a section of day put into just walking around the Central Park Zoo. And then we walked out of there and started walking through the park itself. And yeah, it was just really pretty. And especially because it was autumn, just seeing all of these red, orange, and yellow leaves just all over the ground. And seeing the amount of people sort of walking through there, running through there, doing their exercises and all that. And yeah, it was a really pretty park, but the more I walked through it, the more hungry I was getting. And I was like, I think we've seen enough park. Let's go. And he just laughed at me. So we proceeded to walk out of there and just started walking up a particular street and just kept on walking for a little while. We came across, I think we managed to get as far as Rockefeller Center, and I saw the big statue, and I thought, you know what, let's take a photo, in front of this. And my cousin was also being my photographer while I was there. He was like, I'm going to take photos for you and make sure that you have a good time. So he took photos of me standing in front of a lot of different things, including the statue at Rockefeller Center. So that was awesome. And yeah, just, proceeded to just keep walking around the city. Man, I think I hit quite a high number of steps that day. I wasn't expecting to, but I did. And my hips and my feet were very sore by the end of the day. So yeah, we ended up doing all that. I think we went into a McDonald's. I'm going to say McDonald's. I would say Macca's, but most of you probably won't even understand what that is. So we went into a McDonald's for lunch. Well, a very late lunch. And yeah, I honestly didn't want to believe it, but it is very true. Medium drinks are large to us here in Australia. I'm just going to put that out there. That is a big ass drink. Those cups are huge. And I was like, I'm just going to get a medium. That's enough. And then I saw the cup size. I'm like, damn it, I should have got a small. But that's fine. Yeah. So that was one thing that I experienced, the difference in sizes for drinks in a fast food chain. What else did we do? So yeah, proceeded to just continue exploring the area. And then he suggested that we go back to where he was staying in Long Island. He's like, just, grab a couple of things, bring your pajamas and whatever, and a change of clothes for tomorrow, and I'll show you around Long Island, while you're here, because I don't know when the next time you'll be coming. So this would be a great time to check out a different area of New York. And I'm like, all right, cool, let's do that. So went back to his accommodations, and he was very nice to offer me his room, and he ended up sleeping on the couch. And we got to explore Long Island for a little bit. And it's definitely not the city that I was expecting it to be. It's definitely more suburban. So that was nice to experience. Just seeing all the different types of houses as well, like in terms of the house design and the structure, and the way that the houses are spaced out also intrigued me quite a bit when we were driving past, certain streets and in through the suburbs in Long Island. And yeah, it was really interesting to me. And I wasn't expecting the amount of space between the houses compared to what it is here. I thought, being that, it's a very highly populated city, that there'd be a lot more high density in living. But it wasn't the case in the suburbs. So that was cool. And the lack of fencing, let's just say, between the houses. That's also something that I wasn't expecting to see either. So that was also interesting. And yeah, it was just really nice to see an American suburb to then like compare it to what we have here. And yeah, it's just very spaced out in Long Island. So yeah, experienced all that. We ended up sort of driving around to different places. So he took me to this diner that does breakfast, and I ended up having. I can't remember what I ended up having. What did I have? I had like some form of. Hold on. I feel like I've taken a photo of this particular breakfast, and I just need to remember what it was. Let's see. Oh yeah. So I ended up having like this really sort of interesting. It kind of looked like, I think it was like spam and like diced up spam and bacon, and it had onions through it and capsicum, or I should say green peppers, and, and seasoning, and it topped off with with some poached eggs, because I like poached eggs, and I thought it would be really nice on top of this particular dish. I forgot the name of the actual dish itself though. But if you would like to see what I'm talking about, head over to Instagram at at foodie_Fuji, and you will see what I'm talking about. So I ended up having that for breakfast, and my cousin ended up having French toast with strawberries and cream. Yeah, that was actually a really cool and fun time, and I really enjoyed my time with him in Long Island, and he took me to a few shopping places. Like, while I was in America, I ended up experiencing Halloween, kind of, sort of. I was there during the Halloween season. Let's just put it that way. So my cousin took me to a Spirit Halloween store, and he explained to me how Spirit Halloween is a temporary store that opens up in various random locations, in like sort of spaces. They sort of rent out spaces for about a month or so in the lead up to Halloween. And then I think maybe a couple of days after Halloween ends, they shut down for the season. And that's it. That's Spirit Halloween. So we walked into a Spirit Halloween. He's like, "You're going to love this." I'm like, "Okay." We walk in, and I saw all of different Halloween costumes and decorations, and just, makeup and accessories. And my gosh, there was so much Halloween in one store. It was insane. This was a massive store too. And I was very, very happy to be walking in there. Now, Halloween is not really that widely celebrated here in Australia. It's more of an excuse to have a party, to be honest, here. It's not so much for the kids as it is over in America. So for us, it's more of a, hey, let's have a dress-up party, and then we'll have some drinks and socialize and blah, blah. So that's what that is usually. But for you guys in America, you really go all out, and you decorate your houses kind of like as if it was Christmas, with the lighting and all the different spooky sort of like gravestones and skeletons and spiders and spider webs and all that sort of stuff. That's all really awesome. I really love that. And I kind of wish we had something like that here, but we really don't, because nobody really trusts people around the area with kids walking around asking for, chocolate and lollies and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know. I don't think Halloween really caught on here. There might be some neighborhoods in Australia where, they all have this like agreement thing, where everybody does Halloween their own way in certain neighborhoods. But where I live specifically, we don't have that, unfortunately. So yeah, walking into the Spirit Halloween while I was in New York, wow. Yeah, it was pretty cool. And yes, I did pick up a couple of things. So I ended up grabbing a kind of like a poncho, but it's stitch. So it had like a hood with like a stitch head for a hood, and then it was more like a poncho kind of a style where you just sort of throw it over the top. So I ended up getting one of those. But I also did grab myself a really nice looking medieval crown that was actually made of I think it's like aluminium metal. So it's soft metal, so it does bend. However, when I saw that, my immediate thought went to the PlayStation Drive and how my co-hosts always decide to crown me, quote unquote, as, demo queen, RPG queen, you know, all these other different titles, queen. So I was like, you know what? Let's just kind of make this a thing. And I bought the crown for that specific reason. And I managed to bring it home. So I do have it. But I will say it, just to protect it from getting damaged in my suitcase, took up a lot of space. I'm just going to say that now. But it made it home. So yeah, Spirit Halloween, very cool. Didn't really know that was actually a thing. I thought you'd walk into some department store or, all these other different shopping centers or malls or whatever, and they'd have stores in there that have sections dedicated to Halloween costumes and decorations. But no, you literally have a dedicated company that sells Halloween everything. It's insane. I love it. So yeah, that was pretty cool to walk into. And then I think from there, what else did we do? Yeah, then we ended up going sort of from one shopping area to another shopping area. I don't know why my cousin thought it was a great idea to just take me shopping for the day. But look, I wasn't complaining. It was still cool. But he did mention the fact that there wasn't really much to see in Long Island. So I was okay with it. It was totally fine. He was being super nice about it. I was very grateful that he was driving me around to all these different places. But also the fact that, he was getting the chance to actually rest from all of the work he's been doing. Apparently he hadn't had any kind of holiday or vacation time since he got to America. And I was his excuse to stop and rest. So it kind of worked out for him very well. So, yeah, that was also, good fun. And then, yeah, so essentially that was what, he sort of drove me around different places. And then where else did we go from there? So he ended up driving me back into, Manhattan, and we decided to go via Brooklyn. So we ended up going to Brooklyn in the evening, and it was like really nice and pretty at night. Ended up seeing, across, I don't know what the river's no, is it the Hudson River? No, I have no idea what the river was, but the name of the river at least. But I could see from one point across the way, across the river, and it's really pretty and lit up with just city. So that was really nice to see. And then from there, you could also see one of the bridges as well, which was also lit up real pretty. So I really enjoyed that. And yeah, while we were there, we walked over to this place called the Brooklyn Ice Cream Factory, which was really cool. Like I didn't expect to see just like this ice cream shop just sort of on a corner in Brooklyn. So we had some ice cream there, which was really, really tasty, actually. I really liked the ice cream there. So that was really nice. And then, yeah, he dropped me back off at my hotel, and we said our goodbyes because he was going to go get back straight into doing some back into work and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, that was that. And then the next day, I just ended up doing like a day of just walking around. I had pancakes for breakfast, which, by the way, you guys do giant stacks of pancakes. I could not finish it. I really couldn't. I was like, this is too much pancakes and not enough maple syrup. So that's what happened. Anyway, after I had some breakfast at a cafe, I walked over to Nintendo New York, the place that I had been dying to see. And I was slightly disappointed. I wasn't disappointed like in terms of what was in there. It was more so just the fact that the size of the store was not what I was expecting. I thought it was going to be a lot bigger, but it's actually quite a small store, 2 levels, but just from the outside looking in, it is very small. Like, it is a very small store. But they managed to cram in quite a lot of Nintendo merch in there. And there was a lot of people. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But when I walked in there, it was also Halloween Day. So, on Halloween Day, what surprised me when I walked out of my hotel that day was the sheer number of people walking around in Halloween costume, like from head to toe. They were costumed up. And I thought, now, why are you all just walking around the streets like this? Are you actually heading to like events or something, during the day? I thought that was more of a night thing. No, everybody loves dressing up on Halloween. And then I walk into like stores and stuff, or, and people are dressed up for Halloween working in these places. And I thought, wow, this is really a culture here. Like, they really do dress up. Like, doesn't matter whether it's day or night on Halloween, like on the 30th of November. 30th? No. What am I saying? On the 31st of October, everybody dresses up. So that was cool. But also just really struck me. Like, it just struck a chord with me because that's all I saw most of the time when I was walking around New York, Times Square. So I walked into the Nintendo store, and the Nintendo store was decorated in Halloween theme, of course. They had a little Pokeween sort of a setup where you could sort of take photos with Gengar, which is really cute. And then I'm just walking around, and they had this display case with all the different handheld devices and all the different Nintendo like game consoles and like other game consoles that I probably never even seen or heard of. And that was really awesome just to see all that. Just in this display case inside the store, which was really cool. So there was that. And then just seeing all the different merch. They even had like Halloween themed merch as well. Like, they had this really cute Grivard sweater that I was actually very close to purchasing. But I thought to myself, this is still the first leg of my holiday. I haven't even done anything else. I don't want to fill up my suitcase so soon. But I kind of now regret not getting it. I just thought because of how thick it was going to take up a lot of space in my suitcase. Not to mention weight, because I'm very limited in weight as well when I traveled. And yeah, I'm kind of sad that I didn't pick up this particular, Grivard Halloween sort of themed sweater, because it looked really cute. I really liked it. But I was just worried about suitcase space, so I didn't get it I didn't end up getting it. There were also a few other bits and pieces, like there was there was this Snorlax like snack bowl, which looked really cool. I did pick up some merch in there, so I ended up buying an Animal Crossing New Horizons t-shirt, and to which I was sort of tossing up between getting the ACNH t-shirt and the Nook Inc. t-shirt, but then I was like, you know what, I'll just get both. I'm here, I'll get both. It was really cool to see like the different statues of, Bowser sort of busting through this brick wall. There was like a little section where there was, Luigi and Toad near the staircase. So that was cool. So yeah, and so that was really cool. I ended up also getting a little Kirby plushie, which of course I had to get one. Like I had to bring home a Kirby plushie. I really did. Don't tell me otherwise. I really did need to bring a Kirby plushie home. Had to be done. Yes, this is me convincing myself that I needed this Kirby plushie. So yeah, the Nintendo New York store was actually really cool. Like just seeing everything. I did get suggested that I should buy my physical games there as well because it would probably turn out to be a bit cheaper. But after doing like a conversion and then also including the tax to it, it was going to cost me more to buy it in America than it was for me to buy it at work when I could get it on staff sale, including tax. So I was like, yeah, look, I'm not going to buy it while I'm here. So, but while I was there, because I've been eyeing on maybe getting Emio the Smiling Man, I saw a copy of that in the store and I thought, I could buy it now, but I don't know whether I'll have time to play it while I'm here. So what's the point of getting it here? Plus it's going to cost me more. How about I just message my workmate and get him to put one aside for me at work, which is what I ended up doing. So he was really nice about doing that for me. So I'm very grateful to him. So we had that. I did that. Nintendo New York was cool. I then walked into a Barnes and Noble. I've been curious about this Barnes and Noble, and lo and behold, it's a bookstore with a Starbucks. But that was fine. I ended up finding a couple of things to buy actually and read. So I ended up buying a Moon Knight comic, Road to Ruin. And I actually kind of started reading it as well while I was there. Haven't finished it. I probably should get around to that, but it's a really cool comic. I have a feeling I may have bought like a volume, like a not the first volume. It might be like a more sort of further in volume. So I might have to look into actually finding the rest of it. I did also find the manga section. I love walking through the manga section of bookstores just to see what is available. And I ended up finding a manga called The God's Lie. And this is just a single story manga, so I didn't want to go out of my way to find a volumized manga series. I just wanted to get one story, just one book. That's all I needed. And this one looks really cool, so I ended up getting it. Haven't read it yet, but I will eventually. So after I was done at Barnes & Noble, I then walked over to Baba Gump's, which a lot of people have recommended that I should try because it's really good food. So I went in there and I tried clam chowder for the first time. I really, really liked the clam chowder. It's really nice. I don't know why I hadn't tried it before. Maybe it's not really that popular here, to be honest. I will say that. But I keep hearing about clam chowder on TV and, all that sort of stuff. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna try this clam chowder. This is going to be interesting. So yeah, ended up having some clam chowder. And Baba Gum's had, especially in Times Square, they had you had to go upstairs to get to the restaurant. And then you just look out of the window and you just see a view of Times Square and all the scrolling lights and LED like words and all that sort of stuff. So that was cool. Once I was done over there, I also while I was there, I went into a Five Below. That is a store we don't have here, but we have similar stores to it. I ended up walking out of Five Below with a few things, mainly snacks. I came out of it with a pack of Cheez-It Duos, a pack of kiwi-flavored Hi-Chew, a Twix, because I love Twix, and I wanted to see whether the flavor of the Twix was the way that I remembered it back when Twix used to taste really good because in Australia they've changed the recipe on us and I don't like it. So I wanted to see whether or not the Twix in America still had that same flavor. And you know what? I was very happy to find out that it was. And I was like, why didn't I buy more? But it's okay. That's totally fine. I can live without having to eat too much chocolate anyway. I also ended up grabbing a Reese's Take 5, the king size one, because why not? And I also bought a king size Almond Joy. I love the Almond Joys. Oh my goodness. So I ended up getting a special American care package from my good friends Sam and Dan from Sam and Dan's Couch. And they sent me a box of different types of candy, like lollies and chocolates. And one of the chocolates that they sent was like fun-sized Almond Joys. And I love them because they reminded me of the Bounty bars. So because they're, it's coconut with a chocolate coating. But the Almond Joy it's also topped with an almond, which I don't know what it is about the almond that actually makes this whole candy just taste that much better than a Bounty bar. And I was like, I love Almond Joy. So I ended up finding a king size Almond Joy in Five Below. So I ended up getting that. But while I was there, I also saw some other like New York City merch. And I ended up getting this brown jumper that has New York City written in red and in big letters with the caption, the Big Apple. The sub caption, the Big Apple. And obviously there's a apple next to it as well. And of course, the iconic New York City things, Statue of Liberty, a taxi, pizza, and the Empire State Building sort of surrounding the word New York City. I did buy a few things from there, and I'm not mad about it. I actually really enjoyed being in there. Because there was a lot to like. I could have walked out of there spending like at least $50 if I knew I didn't have to worry about luggage space. But unfortunately for me, I kind of had to keep that in mind. So yeah, that's what happened with that. And that was pretty much New York City. Already over an hour in, and we're still on the first part of my time in America. We are going to now head over to Extra Life. So the main reason why I was in America was because I was heading over to Utica, New York, or Upstate New York, and surrounding areas, to participate in Extra Life for the first time with the Carpool Gaming team. And let's just say that was like the best time that I had ever had. And just being in the presence of people that I know, that I've been talking to for quite some time, for a few years actually, and also being part of the team was really awesome. So just being in the presence of all these people had me just feeling so much joy and gratitude and love, because I wasn't going, I don't know. I can't find the words of how happy I was to be there. It was absolutely the best feeling to be surrounded by so many awesome people and just being able to chat with them in person and have laughs and stay up and tell stories and laugh even more. That was the best time. It really was. So let me tell you how my trip went there. So from New York City, JFK, went over and flew into Syracuse because that was the closest main airport to get there to where I needed to go for Extra Life. And the first person that I bump into at Syracuse Airport and was Mitch Power. Mitch was the first person from the Carpool Gaming team that I met at the airport. Nobody knew this because obviously he was keeping this a secret from Sean for quite some time. And not even community members knew that he was going to be there. So I was there. I got there pretty early. I think I landed at about 10:30-ish in the morning. And then I find out that Mitch had also landed roughly around the same time as me, maybe a little after me. And he was sort of messaging the group saying, hey, who's here and all that. And then like the group that Sean wasn't in. And I instantly said, hey, I'm here. And then he DM'd me saying, okay, where are you? Because I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm like, you're talking to an Australian here, neither do I. But yeah, we ended up meeting each other in like one end, like in the middle of the airport, because he was at one end of the airport where he flew in from, and I was at the other end of the airport. It's a small airport. Syracuse isn't very big at all. It's very small. So we ended up sort of meeting in the middle, and that was so much fun. Just, meeting people for the first time as well. To which I was still waiting around for a couple of other people because I was actually going to get, so I was being picked up by community members to be driven out to where we needed to go. And Mitch, because he was planning this surprise for Sean, he ended up hiring a car for the time that he was there. And he was like, you know what? If you're waiting around for a couple hours, how about we go and grab something to eat? Because we were both hungry. So he took me to a, oh my gosh, what was the name of the place? I've already forgotten. I've forgotten the place that I went to have food for the first time. Chick-fil-A. There it is. He took me to a Chick-fil-A, and I had Chick-fil-A for the first time. And it was all right. It was nice. But then, everybody was mocking me because I ended up getting a grilled chicken sandwich rather than a crispy one. And I was like, I really don't want fried food. I just wanted something simple. But it was still nice. I wasn't complaining. It was still good. And then, proceeded to explain to Mitch. I was like, this is not a medium. This is a large drink. And he laughed, of course. He's like, America. But yeah. After that experience, he then dropped me back off at the airport so that, he could go off and rest and do his thing to prepare for the surprise. And then, I got picked up. We drove all the way down. It was about 40-ish minutes, maybe 45 minutes to get there from the airport. And the Airbnb that the team stayed at was really nice. It was very, very open space. We had a campfire. We had the opportunity. Like, this was a big house as well. It was really big. Like, there was multiple beds, multiple rooms. So yeah, it really did like cover all of us. Like, we all had somewhere to sleep. So yeah, that was really cool. And just, it was just so much fun doing Extra Life as well, staying up for 24 hours, playing games and laughing at each other and trying not to sleep, which I did not succeed. I still ended up sleeping. So yeah, there was that. And yeah, it was still good fun, but we made it through. We even hit our $10,000 goal, which was insane. Lachlan and I were writing up everybody who donated up on this banner. I started it off with various fonts because I wanted to be creative and I wanted it to look cool. And And then Lochleth, then, because there were times where I wasn't next to the banner at all and Lochleth was. And so she ended up continuing it on, being more creative than me, and started drawing little pictures all over the place around the names that she wrote. And I was like, damn, I need to up my game. But it was so much fun. And we had such a blast. I will never play Elden Ring again. I'm just going to put that out there. Do not make me play Elden Ring again, because I won't. It's not going to happen. And yeah, that was cool. And then, just being there with all these awesome people. I've already said it, but I'm going to just repeat it. It was so much fun meeting everyone. And I am super duper glad that I went. I really am. Like, it was worth the flights to get there for me to be able to be there with all these people and to be able to smile and hang out with them and laugh with them and cry with them and play games with them in person, do a podcast together in person. It was so good. So good. So much fun. But yeah, so there was that. Yeah, Extra Life, that is a memory I will never forget. I'm never going to forget being in upstate New York doing Extra Life. It was, oh, man. Great memories. I love it. So once Extra Life was done and we all went our separate ways, I was very sad. I literally, getting on the plane. So funny thing was, myself, Seth, and community member Quaggy ended up on the same flight, heading out of Syracuse. So, but my flight wasn't my only flight, because I was continuing on out to San Francisco. But the three of us were on the same flight, and we weren't very far from each other on the plane either. But before we got on the plane, as they started the boarding call, we all got up, and it was my section that got called up first between the three of us. And we all got up, we started hugging, and I was so close to just bursting into tears, because I knew that was it. I wasn't going to see them again for quite some time. And yeah, I held it in. I held it back. And then, yeah, we got on the plane. We were sitting in different seats, so obviously we didn't really get to talk much more after that on the plane or anything like that. And then as soon as we got off the plane, I literally had to get out of there and bolt to my next flight, because I had a very tight connection when we got to the first destination. So I was like, all right, I need to go straight out. And yeah, made it to San Francisco. Same sort of deal. By the time I got to San Francisco, it was already evening, and I didn't really do much. I didn't go anywhere, so I thought I'll just stay in. Again, I didn't really have anything to eat. Unfortunately, I didn't really have much in terms of snacks apart from all the chocolates that I had. I was like, I'm not going to be eating chocolates as my dinner, so that didn't happen. The travel between San Francisco airport to my hotel didn't take as long. It wasn't as much traffic as I thought there was going to be. Just getting out of the airport was probably the main issue, but after that, it was okay. But because it was also nighttime, I did also notice a few other things that wasn't traffic driving through. And the Uber driver that took me was also sort of explaining that there's a lot of homeless people in San Francisco, and there are areas where the police have to go in and kind of clear them out. And I kind of saw that happening at one point when we were driving past one area on the way to the hotel, and I thought, oh wow, okay. I didn't think it was a real big problem, but apparently it really is. But yeah, so got to my hotel, and all I wanted to do again was just rest. So I just chilled at the hotel room, and it was a really nice hotel as well. It was a very spacious room too, so I was very happy with the space I had. And it was a really nice bed, very comfortable. And yeah, so there was a nice little sort of like bakery cafe just down the road from where I was staying. It was like a 2 minute walk to get there, and I went in there and they had really nice croissants in there, and I was craving pastry. I was absolutely craving it. So I ended up getting myself a croissant while I was there, and it was so nice and buttery and flaky, and so yummy. So yeah, they went in there for breakfast. But then I also, from on that day, I was like, I'm gonna go for a walk. So I ended up going for a walk down to, I think it was, is it to Fisherman's Wharf? I think it was. Yeah, kind of down towards that sort of area. So I was thinking about maybe taking like a trolley. I was thinking about taking a trolley, but then I didn't. Where I was staying, there were no like tram tracks on the roads. Um, so if I really did want to, I'd have to go to like another street. And the one thing I did notice about San Francisco is it is a very hilly city. There are a lot of steep hills in that city that I was not about to climb. Yeah, that sounds very lazy of me, but I wasn't fit enough to be able to walk up those kind of steep hills. Like they were like 45-degree angle steep. It was rough seeing that. I thought, yeah, I don't think so. I'm not going up that high. um, so yeah, I decided that I would like it wasn't going to take too long. For me, I think it only took about maybe 25 minutes to half an hour to walk from my hotel to Fisherman's Wharf. Or yeah, at least to is it Ghirardelli Square? Something like that. For the pronunciation, I'm sorry if I got it wrong. Yeah, I wanted to go check out the Ghirardelli chocolate factory, and let me just tell you, that place does not disappoint. Has all the really nice chocolate, and they also had like a cafe sort of thing where they serve you hot chocolates and coffee, but also sundaes and milkshakes. And oh man, that place is such an indulgence. Just walking in there, you get hit with a waft of sugar and just cocoa, and oh, it was so nice. It's like the moment you walk in, you already get a sugar rush. So I really enjoyed being there. I ended up getting myself the world famous hot fudge sundae, which sadly I didn't end up finishing because yeah, it was quite a large size. There was a decent amount of ice cream and hot fudge sauce. And like this sundae usually also comes with whipped cream and a cherry on top. Now the cherry is a candied cherry; it's a fake cherry. I don't like those cherries, unfortunately. So I asked for no cherry, but I thought to myself, hey, let's just leave the whipped cream on. It's fine. That's the whole point of the sundae, right? And like apart from the ice cream and the hot chocolate sauce. Boy, did I make a bad decision. I should have asked for no whipped cream as well. Because halfway through eating my sundae, I could hear my gut gurgling, and it was not nice. It did not feel good. Not that the actual sundae tasted bad or anything. I wanted to continue eating that thing because I really wanted to finish it. But unfortunately, my gut did not allow it. Not not to mention the fact that I ended up getting a hot cocoa as well. So, hot fudge sundae plus hot cocoa, where the fudge sundae had the whipped cream on top. Luckily, I said no cream on top of my hot cocoa, otherwise that would have been terrible. And yeah, no, I really had to quickly finish up or I was doomed. Luckily, though, luckily, I was saved. There was a bathroom nearby, so I was okay. Uh, I hope that wasn't too TMI. But anyway, great chocolate. I ended up grabbing I made a couple of gift bags for a couple of friends and ended up like trying to figure out what type of chocolates they'd really enjoy. So I sort of packed them together. But I also made myself a little bag of chocolates that I brought home with me. And, they're really nice. It's very good quality chocolate. The Ghirardelli chocolate's really good. So I'm glad I ended up going there. Very good recommendation by a lot of people. And then after I had finished up there, I had a little walk around the area that the chocolate factory was in. And then from there, I walked over to Fisherman's Wharf. And I walked the length, well, at least half of the length of Fisherman's Wharf. And there was so many gift stores, restaurants, especially restaurants with a lot of seafood menus, because of the fact that it was just where the bay is. So that was really cool. I went into one of I think it was a crab restaurant. I forget the name, but it was you go inside, you go upstairs, and you get a really nice view of the bay. So I really loved the view from where I was sitting in the restaurant. So that was really cool. Ended up getting some more clam chowder because I felt like I got a little obsessed with having clam chowder. So I'm like, I'm going to get clam chowder again. But this time, I ended up getting clam chowder in a bread bowl, in a sourdough bread bowl. And that was another experience in itself. And my goodness, it was such an indulgence for me to have clam chowder in a bread bowl. Carb overload. I loved it. It was so nice. I also had a side of, I think it was, it might have been, I think it was steamed or was it stir-fried vegetables? I'm not quite sure. I had a side of vegetables to go with it because I was I'm missing vegetables. I am missing having greenery and some form of salad type thing or vegetables in general. So when I saw that there was I think it was sauteed vegetables as a side, I was like, can I have an order of this, please? So yeah, I ended up having that. So that was really cool. But yeah, Fisherman's Wharf in San Francisco is really nice. I really had a good time. I think that was literally all I did the first day. And then the second day, I went out to a little bit further away from Fisherman's Wharf in the sort of the opposite direction. I went over to a cafe that was where the Golden Gate Bridge is. And yeah, it was a really nice view. It was also a very nice day. It was quite warm. And I went over to the Walt Disney Family Museum. So I thought, yeah, let me check this place out. And you know what? It was very in-depth. There was a lot to see. There was a few interactive things that you could do in there, which was really, really cool. And I'm so glad that I went in there. I learned a lot more about Walt Disney himself and the different types of cameras and animation styles they used, the variations of the characters like Mickey, the way that Mickey had started off as, Steamboat Willie, and just his thoughts and ideas about making this amazing theme park. Disneyland, Disney World. Um, it was insane. Like, I wasn't expecting to see like a miniature, there's like a miniature version of Disneyland itself. And I'm so glad that, I saw this because the following week I was going to Disneyland. So I was like, well, I've seen the miniature version of it, or at least what it originally looked like when it was first built. And then I was able to actually go and visit the park itself, which was really awesome. So yeah, so essentially after I had walked around through this museum, I learned a lot more about Walt Disney out of that, and I'm very grateful. And so from there, I ended up going back to Fisherman's Wharf, but I ended up going to a different end of Fisherman's Wharf. It was like the end where it was kind of sort of like a closed in sort of a section where there was all these different shops and restaurants. And I think there were experiences as well, but I mostly went in there for the shops. So I kind of went to the other end of Fisherman's Wharf the following day, essentially, and I was going to do a boat tour of the bay where it takes you all the way out to the Golden Gate Bridge and then brings you around Alcatraz Island and then back again. But by the fact that I ended up at a different end of Fisherman's Wharf from where I was thinking I was going to get dropped off, I didn't have time to do that, unfortunately. So, but that didn't mean I didn't have fun. It's not like I didn't enjoy myself. I really loved being able to see a different side of Fisherman's Wharf, so that was cool. And then, had some good food and ended up buying a lot of saltwater taffy because there was Pier 39. That's the end I ended up going to. I ended up going over to Pier 39 of Fisherman's Wharf. I walked into this particular candy shop. I forget the name because I always forget names of places. I never write them down or anything. But there was a lot of taffy, like different flavors of taffy in barrels, and I was like, oh, dude, I have to go in this. I gotta check this out. Like, I've not really had taffy before. The only taffy I've ever had was like Laffy Taffy, and that's not really taffy, to be honest. Let's just say after experiencing saltwater taffy, yeah. This is the S tier of taffy. I ended up walking through, so I walked in, I had a look at all the different flavors, and then I went back to the front of the store, grabbed the basket, and then went through again and picked out all the different flavored taffies that I wanted, and ended up coming back with quite a lot of taffy, let's just say. Most of it made it home. I still have some. I've been eating them sort of one or two pieces here and there. So that was cool. But while I was in San Francisco and before I flew out to Los Angeles, of course, I ended up meeting up with Garrett, who is one of the co-hosts on the RPG Cave at Carpool Gaming. And it was really cool. We had breakfast together. I think I had pancakes. I can't remember. I had food. And yeah, it was really fun. It was really nice to meet Garrett. I wasn't I thought maybe we wouldn't have time, but we ended up catching up for breakfast before he went off to work and I flew out to LA. And yeah, it was really cool to meet him. We had a quick chat, so it was really nice. But then we get to LA, and I am an hour and a half into my podcast right now, and LA is going to probably take up the next half an hour. So strap in, folks, because there's going to be a lot to say. So I got to LA, And yeah, I didn't really spend too much time outside of the hotel. I did sort of like drop off my bags and chill and stuff. I think I didn't want to venture out too far, so all I did was go downstairs to the hotel restaurant, and I had dinner in the hotel restaurant, so that was fine. And then I went back upstairs and chilled. And this was also a very nice hotel, and I was staying up in Burbank, which is a very nice area to stay in Los Angeles. And yeah, so the hotel was really nice and clean. And I ended up with a king size bed, which was awesome. Got to stretch out and starfish on the bed sometimes. And it was so comfortable. It was so nice. So yeah, so there was that. But yeah, the next day, met up with community member Dallas. Dallas was awesome. And he was very nice to, kind of guide me around some areas of Los Angeles. So we ended up heading out. So we ended up heading out for breakfast at a restaurant somewhere close by. And we ended up. So what did I end up having? I'm looking at the photo. And if for reference, like I said, head over to my foodie_Fuji Instagram page if you'd like to see what I'm talking about. I ended up having like these, they look like, I think it was like a hash Benedict, and I had poached eggs on top of my hash browns, which was really tasty actually, and a very light, sort of they topped it off with a light amount of hollandaise sauce. I was really scared. Hollandaise sauce, I like the taste of hollandaise sauce. Unfortunately, my gut says otherwise. So I was very glad that they didn't like drown my my breakfast in hollandaise sauce. It was a very light sort of a topping, and I'm like, thank you. I can actually enjoy this and not feel cramps. But I also had it with a side of grits. Now, I had no idea what grits was, and I thought, let me try it out. What's the harm in, giving it a go? You're in America, try the food for, even if it is once. Surprisingly really nice. I really enjoyed having grits. And, the next time if grits are on the offer, are offered on the menu, I would definitely go out of my way to actually eat it. It was really nicely seasoned. And just the texture of it was kind of like having like very overdone oatmeal, I suppose. Kind of. That's the kind of texture. That's the texture I got, at least. And it was kind of like in between having really overdone oatmeal to mashed potato, kind of, sort of in between that. I don't know. That's the kind of texture I got from having grits. And yeah, I'm a fan. I am a fan of grits. I'm going to see if there's a way that I can actually make it for myself, because it was actually quite nice. Anyway, so after breakfast, we went out to the Griffith Observatory, which was awesome. A day of science and space, because why not? And we got to see the Tesla coil be, turned on, and it was working it was insane how that actually does work. And we got to see a lot of space things, like the big telescope that they have there. Unfortunately, because it was during the day, it was closed, so we didn't get the chance to actually see through the telescope. That one's more so for people going there in the evening to look up into the stars and stuff. That would have been pretty awesome, actually, to be honest. I would have loved to been able to just look through the telescope to see, the stars and the planets through this massive telescope. It would have been awesome. I might have to invest in one for myself, because I am very curious about, the stars and space and all that kind of thing. But also, you could actually see the Hollywood sign from there. It was a really nice view when you go up to the top, on top of the roof of the observatory. You could see the Hollywood sign in the distance, and it was so cool. So I was super glad to be able to at least see that. There were also some sides to view that were kind of a bit like hazy, but it was still cool to see sort of like downtown Los Angeles, or Hollywood, I should say. Um, Really nice looking sort of like architecture on the inside of the observatory. So that was actually really fascinating for me. It was almost like walking into, like, not that I've never been to Rome or anything, but it was like paintings on the top of Sistine Chapel on the inside. So just seeing all that was actually really, really cool. And then seeing, I saw an actual Mayan, an actual, was it a Mayan calendar or an Aztec calendar? Um, the Aztec calendar stone. I got to see an actual Aztec calendar stone. It's very colorful, but like it's so intricate and detailed. I really loved the look of it too. But yeah, and then we also went out for dinner that day, and before going out to a hockey game. Now, for dinner we went to I felt it was a very authentic Mexican restaurant that Dallas took me to, and it was really nice. It was very tasty, and also good serving sizes as well. Um, I had I had a taco and a tamales. I've never had tamales before. So I was like, you know what? I want to try it. And I did. I was very surprised. I actually really liked having the tamales. The one that I had beef in it. And it was really tasty. I really liked it. Yeah, so that was dinner. And then we headed out to what was the name of the rink again? I believe Crypto.com Arena. What a name for an arena. Like, why? Why on earth would you call it that? That was so weird. But yeah, anyway, we got to see a hockey game. I got to see my beloved Blue Jackets play the LA Kings during their home game. My dream is one day I will get to see my Columbus boys actually play a home game at some point. I don't know when that will be, but I hope one day I will go see a home game in Columbus specifically. I would love to be able to watch a home game because that'd be awesome. But yeah, the hockey game, LA Kings versus Columbus Blue Jackets. It was a good game. Sadly, my team lost, so I was very sad. But it's okay. It's fine. It was still really fun to watch. The atmosphere within the arena was awesome. I love going to NHL games. They're so much fun. So yeah, there was that. I then got to catch up with another friend that I hadn't spoken to or seen for a very long time. And I also met them online. And it was so nice to catch up with them in person, and they took me around a little bit. So we met up at a mall that was close by to the hotel I was staying in, and then from there we thought, let's not stick around in a mall. Let's go out and get some fresh air. And they took me to a really pretty garden that had like themed gardens, and I think the area that I really enjoyed the most was the Japanese garden. So it's very zen, very chill, like a little sort of a creek running through it with some Japanese lanterns. And yeah, it was really nice to just be walking through, nature essentially and getting some fresh air. So that was really nice and really cool. And yeah, just had a really nice sort of chill afternoon. To which the next day I ended up just having like a random day of doing really nothing because I needed to conserve my energy and my money for a certain day that I ended up going to a place, the happiest place on earth. and that was going out to Disneyland. Oh my goodness. I can't believe, I cannot believe I have been to Disneyland. Disneyland had me smiling all day. All day. My cheeks were killing me by the end of it. I was so happy to be there. Again, huge thank you to Dallas, who, organized everything and essentially knew where we needed to go, what rides we needed to be on at what time, and how to get it all organized. Also, a shout out to Mitch, by the way, because he also gave me some tips on the best thing to do and what not to do and all that sort of stuff. So thank you for that, Mitch. I really appreciate you for that. But yeah, because Dallas lives in LA, he apparently has been very many times to Disneyland, so he knows the place inside and out, pretty much. And so yeah, we started off over at the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. Unfortunately, we didn't get there for rope drop, just due to the fact that we had some transport complications in the morning. But that was fine. We still got there. We still had the whole day, literally the whole day. We were on the ride. Pirates of the Caribbean ride was the first one we went on because Dallas knew that ride was going to get instantly busy, the later we leave it. So we thought, let's just do that now. So we did that. Then from there, we went over to Jungle Cruise, which wasn't too far away. That was also quite fun. And then I was like, all right, I think I'm good for having some breakfast now. Let's have some food. And I ended up having a breakfast chimichanga. Never had a chimichanga before, so that was cool. Ended up having a breakfast chimichanga, which is essentially a fried burrito, but because it was a breakfast one, it had breakfast ingredients in it. So eggs, cheese, bacon, that sort of stuff. So that was really tasty. And then from there, oh, this is my favorite part. We walked over the Galaxy's Edge. The moment we walked into the area, the first thing I noticed was the lampposts looked very science fiction, very Star Warsy. And then I started hearing the sounds. The sounds. Oh my goodness, the sounds. They really get you immersed into the area that you're walking through. It's just amazing. Absolutely loved going through Galaxy's Edge, just walking around. The first thing I notice is, I see some cruisers, some land cruisers and all that sort of stuff, and some jets. And then we sort of, walk through. And I think the first place we had to go to quickly was the Rise of the Resistance ride, because Dallas knew that was going to get absolutely busy. We got there. The standard queue line was already long. So we ended up paying extra for the lightning lane to go through ASAP, essentially. So we didn't have to wait too long. The whole idea for me was if we had the lightning lane attached to our main ticket for the entrance to the parks, and the lightning lane is definitely a genius move, especially for a tourist like me who doesn't have a lot of time when visiting. So that was also really nice to be able to go through and experience all these different rides without having to wait too long, essentially. So yeah, Rise of the Resistance was the first ride, and I was nerding out. I was absolutely geeking out, walking through, being part of this experience, and seeing a hologram of Rey. Holy crap, we actually have holograms of Rey. Holograms in general. They figured it out. Disneyland figured it out. That's insane. And then seeing BB-8 there, which was really cute. And then, being abducted by the Empire and going on to this ride. It was so good. I just, I don't know what sounds came out of me, but they were very happy. Oh, it was so much fun. It was so much fun. Once that ride was complete, uh, we walked out of there and then we walked towards the Millennium Falcon. Holy crap, I saw the Millennium Falcon. I almost died. It was a life-sized Millennium Falcon. Oh, it was so good. It was so good. Yeah, and then from there we went straight over to Smuggler's Run, which was also a lot of fun. However, to begin with, we didn't end up using Lightning Lane for this specific ride. We thought, let's just wait it out. And because on the app, so the Disneyland app, it was telling us that the ride was having, I don't know if it was delays or if it was closed for whatever reason, but people were still going in there to line up for the ride. And then after waiting for about, I think maybe about 10, 15 minutes, and sort of like inching our way through the queue, we ended up hearing murmurs from the front that something was happening. Then there was an announcement saying the ride's closed. We don't know how long it's going to take. You're welcome to wait it out in the line. Otherwise, please turn around and head out. And me and Dallas looked at each other. We're like, do we leave? And Dallas immediate was like, no, just wait. It's fine. I'm sure like they'll end up telling us like soon that they'll bring it. Let's just wait it out. And as we waited, more and more people didn't. And there were more people leaving the line when we stayed. We ended up getting so far towards the front that by the time I think we got to the point where we were all the way almost in and we could see the entrance point, like we could see the rides sort of happening. And then the announcement said, hey, the ride's back open again, where we welcome you to come and ride, do Smuggler's Run. And everybody cheered. And especially those of us who actually waited it out and ended up being a little bit further back compared to where we ended up. So if those people hadn't have left, I'd say we would still be waiting for at least another 20-ish minutes, maybe. But luckily we didn't have to wait too long by the time they re-announced that it was open. So we ended up, I think, only waiting maybe 5 minutes. And then we jumped on the ride. We're like, sweet, let's go. It was so good. And that one was awesome too, because that one actually teams you up with other people, and you end up piloting the Millennium Falcon, which was so much fun. Let's just put it that way. So Dallas was nice enough to give me the role as pilot, but there was another couple that sort of came on with us. They were, I don't know, maybe middle-aged couple, maybe 50s or something like that. And they were also tourists. They weren't from America. I think they were from the UK. And the husband of the couple was like, I want to be a pilot. And Dallas was like, to the wife, is like, if it's okay with you, my friend here is from Australia. This is her first time here. Can she be the pilot? The wife was like, that's totally fine. She can be the pilot. It was so funny. And so the wife and Dallas ended up being the gunners of the ship, which was funny just to begin with, because I'm like, cool, I'm piloting. I didn't really know that when they said there was going to be two pilots. I didn't realize that one pilot was controlling one part like of the movement, and then the second pilot was controlling the other part of the movement. So that was weird. It just felt weird for me, at least, because I ended up on the side where where you actually pilot the left and right, and then the other guy ended up piloting the up and down, and I was like, controlling it up and down, and I was controlling it left and right, and it was a nightmare. Like, it was fun. I was laughing my head off when I was doing this. I was laughing, I was squealing, but having two people do two different controlling like movements of a spaceship essentially just felt so weird. What's the word I'm looking for? It didn't feel right for me, because I was like, I want to be the one just controlling the whole thing, not just one thing. Because when I was trying to go one way, the other person was going a different way, and then we ended up crashing so many times. Like, I feel like we would have died. Let's just put it that way. We hit so many cliffs and pillars and everything that I feel like we would have mangled up the Millennium Falcon, and Han Solo would like shoot us and kill us, essentially. That's how I kind of see it. So we ended up doing that, but it was so much fun. I loved Smuggler's Run. It was so good. And then after that, we sort of walked around a bit more. I got to meet Baymax in San Francisco. That was such a great experience. I got to hug him. I got to give him a fist bump. I even had a chat with him. Like, it was so interactive. And I loved it. I loved it so much. Just kept sort of walking around. And unfortunately, there were rides that we didn't get a chance to jump onto because of how busy it was. And, because of certain like delays that were happening for some of those rides. Like the Guardians of the Galaxy ride would have been awesome, but unfortunately that was one of those rides where the queues were like 60 plus minutes, no matter whether you're going into the standard line or whether you're going through Lightning Lane. Everybody wanted to be in that building and ride that ride. And I'm like, okay, well, I have an excuse to go back, and is to jump on rides that I didn't get a chance to check out. So yeah, there's that. We also got to go and have a look at the Star Tours. So Star Tours was the first Star Wars themed ride or experience before Galaxy's Edge had opened up. And I actually really enjoyed it. It was really cool. It was almost like being in a kind of like a 4D theater where the seats kind of move, well, the whole ship moved kind of. And yeah, that was good fun. Also got to jump in and ride or experience the Toy Story ride, which was interesting. And then we went to the Haunted Mansion, and I'm so glad we went in there because it was still Halloween themed. But it was a mixture. It was actually Nightmare Before Christmas themed. So it was a mixture of Halloween and Christmas, which was awesome. I absolutely loved it. The outside of the building was decorated in Christmas sort of wreaths, but there were still like pumpkins all over the place because, Pumpkin King, all hail the Pumpkin King. And yeah, it was so much fun. I really loved it. And it was really interesting to see that this particular ride was essentially a conveyor belt with pods on them, and they're 2-seater pods. So I'm glad there were 2-seaters, actually, to be honest, because I was like, I don't want to be riding this with, some randos behind me or in front of me. So the 2-seater pods were cool. So, and then it sort of takes you around the inside and sort of like turning left and right and all kind of thing. And it was just really well detailed and decorated on the inside. And I just loved it. And they had the music from Nightmare Before Christmas and all that. So yeah, and the animatronics throughout the whole theme park, the different rides you go on, the animatronics of a lot of the rides, especially at like entrance points or within the ride itself, were so good and almost lifelike in a way. just the way that the movements of these particular sort of robots that you see, they don't look like they're animatronic. And it was amazing. I absolutely love that. But the last thing I want to mention about Disneyland, and probably going to be maybe the last thing that I mentioned about this whole trip, was that, apart from also buying myself my first ever Mickey ears, which I ended up getting Stitch themed ones, I got to build my very own lightsaber. And man, oh man, I was so giddy about doing this. I knew this was something I wanted to do when I was planning out this whole trip. The moment that I knew that I was going to be going to Disneyland, that I was going to be at Galaxy's Edge, I 100% wanted to make sure that I built my lightsaber. And so Dallas said, okay, as soon as we go into the park, book in when you want to do the lightsaber build. And so we planned it out. We decided I wanted to do it in the evening. I did it at nighttime because I thought it'd be a really cool experience to do that, to be able to then light up the lightsaber at night and just see it pop in the night sky. And I'm so glad that I did. That whole experience, short though it may have been, I feel like the build, that whole experience was probably about, 15, 20 minutes, roughly. It was really well done, though. Learned a lot of lore about lightsabers and the kyber crystals and the different designs of hilts and, who went with what in terms of design, like characters from Star Wars and all that sort of stuff. For me, I ended up going with a protection and defense design for my hilt, which is a lot more sort of very old school, sort of intricate design. And it has some bronzes and golds and silvers through it. And from what they said, it's very Knights of the Old Republic kind of a design. So yeah, I gravitated more so towards that hilt compared to the other options that were given to us, like your standard, like the one that Darth Vader has, very sleek, very dark sort of energy. And then you've got it's very natural, kind of like it has bones and wood through it. And then there was another one that's very sleek and light, but for what Luke Skywalker would have had. I ended up with the old school looking one, and I really love it. I absolutely love it. To which, after building the lightsaber itself, which was an awesome experience to begin with, we ended up going outside, walked back over to where the Millennium Falcon was, and it was dark, and everywhere they had lights. They had the lights on, lamp posts and all sorts of other lights. And so Dallas was going to take some photos of me with my lightsaber on. And I started sort of doing something random, but then I wasn't sure what the hell I was doing. I'm like, I don't know how to pose like a Jedi. I mean, I've watched the movies and the shows and stuff, but I've never really practiced doing any kind of stances or anything like that. Luckily, not too far from where we were standing, there was a small group of professional photographers. So Disneyland have pro photographers sort of walking around different areas that you can get professional photos taken. And they actually scan your app, or they give you a QR code for you to scan into your Disneyland app, and it immediately brings up the photos that they have taken, and it's free, which is awesome. So yeah, there was a small group of photographers just sort of hanging around, and Dallas kind of told me to go up to him and ask if you can get some photos done. I was like, okay, I'll do that. So I went over to one of them. I'm like, would you mind like taking some photos of me with my lightsaber? And one of them was absolutely delighted to do that. Not only that, but they also like directed me on how to pose while they were taking photos. And because they weren't really that busy and there wasn't many people sort of around asking for photos at that time, I actually ended up having a little mini photo shoot with one of the camera people, and I was so stoked. It was so much fun, and it was just really nice to see that they actually really love what they do. And so, they were posing me, and then they ended up sort of getting someone else to help hold up like extra different colored lights from a different angle. And I was holding up my lightsaber in different angles and like above my head, which, by the way, those lightsabers are not light. They're heavy. So I had a little bit of strength needed to hold them up. And then when I was done, like when that whole like process was done, they had taken quite a few photos and they look so good. I absolutely love them. But yeah, it was such a great experience to be able to do that. And yeah, unfortunately, I couldn't take my lightsaber home on the day. So what ended up happening was after my little mini photo shoot, we ended up going to the cargo hold, and had my lightsaber shipped home. Yeah, I ended up having to pay a little to get it shipped home because I knew 100% this thing was not going to be coming on the flight with me because it would have been classed as a weapon. But also the fact that it wouldn't have fit into my suitcase, even in 2 pieces, it wouldn't have fit in my suitcase. It's too big. And of course, I didn't want to put it through oversized luggage either, which meant I would have to pay extra. And I don't know what the outcome would have been in terms of having it not break throughout the flight, throughout the process of it being transported over. So I thought, better to have it shipped home. I'll probably get home before it gets there to me. So that's what ended up happening. I ended up having it shipped home. It is now safely here. And I am very happy that I have it in the safety of my own home right now. So I still own my lightsaber. It is here, and I am grateful. But yeah, so that was pretty much my Disneyland trip, and I just so much fun. Definitely going to go back if I am back in LA at any point in the future, which I probably will be because, of course, I am. It's Disneyland. Yeah. I think that's pretty much it in terms of my US trip specifically. I had one more day before I flew home, but I was so tired from walking around Disneyland all day that I think we were there for 14 hours, roughly, something like that. And a lot of that was walking, and I ended up doing probably over 24,000 steps that day. So my body the next day was feeling it, absolutely in pain, so tired. I slept in and I enjoyed it. I'm so glad I had this king size bed. And, I took my time. I used the day to pack my bag and just chill. I went out for a walk, just sort of walk around, stretch my legs a little bit just to get out of the hotel for a little while. I did a little bit of last minute shopping. Ended up buying some food and stuff. I also got to try my first ever pumpkin spiced drink, which for me was a pumpkin spiced ice drink. And it was actually quite nice. I liked it. It was tasty. I liked the spices that were in it. It's really nice. And I think that was pretty much it. Like my final day was literally just a chill, don't do too much day. That was it. I also managed to, because I was also using the hotel Wi-Fi, which, hotel Wi-Fi does suck a little bit, especially if you wanted to play some games, because downloading stuff is not fun. And I had my Switch with me, and there were some friends playing games in the Carpool Gaming Discord. I thought, you know what, I'm gonna jump in and join them and just have a chat with them. And then I just kept getting FOMO of them, playing Fortnite, which, why would I get FOMO about playing Fortnite? No, it's not the game that I was having FOMO about. It was the fact that they were all having fun together playing the game. It was the social aspect of it. So I was like, you know what? Let me just download this thing. It took 2 hours to download on hotel Wi-Fi on my Switch. Oh, boy. And then, by the time I had it downloaded, like, a lot of them were already starting to head to bed. And I'm like, but it's still early here and I want to play. So there were still some people who were like, yeah, we'll hang around for a couple more matches. We'll play with you. And I'm like, okay, cool. We'll play. And I'm like, by the way, I have no idea what I'm doing. So we played a little bit of Fortnite together. And I'm so grateful that we did. And that's the only reason why I'm playing Fortnite, is just, for the social aspect of it, to be able to hang out with friends and just have fun. Not because I enjoy the game. I really don't. I'm not very good with shoot games, and Fortnite specifically, I can leave it if I don't play it for so long. I don't have to play it, but the social aspect of it is quite fun. Anyway, that's not part of the US trip, although it kind of was. But yeah, my flight home was from LA back to Melbourne via Auckland, New Zealand. Again, I got pretty lucky on the long haul flight between LA and Auckland. I didn't end up getting a whole middle row to myself, but I ended up sitting on one end of the row, and there was only one other person sitting at the other end of that row. So we had 2 seats between us free. So that it still gave me the opportunity to just stretch a little bit without, entering into the other person's personal space. And I was still happy with that. It was still comfortable enough that I was able to, lean on the back of the chair and just, get a few moments of shut-eye on the flight. By the way, I watched a lot of movies on the flights that I was on, including the domestic ones that allowed for in-flight entertainment. I even managed to watch the whole first season of the reboot of Frasier on the flight. And like, I was curious about it, but I didn't have Paramount Plus to be able to watch it. So I was glad I had the opportunity to watch it during my domestic flights. So I ended up watching all of them throughout my domestic flights, and it was okay. It was all right. I like Frasier. Frasier's a good show. The reboot, I don't know how I feel about it. Let's just put it that way. But anyway, I think I've gone on long enough. It's over 2 hours long now, and I'm not sorry. I hope you enjoyed listening to my voice. I know there's going to be moments here and there that's going to sound a little bit crackly, my voice sounding a bit crackly because of how long I've been talking, and I've had to stop a couple of times to drink some water. But I hope you enjoyed listening to my experience that I had over in America, essentially. But yeah, thank you for listening. If you enjoy the Many Thoughts I Have podcast, I'd really appreciate it if you give it a 5-star review or rating on your podcast service of choice. Remember that you can also comment on each episode over on Spotify. To keep up with me, you can follow me on socials at Foolish Fuji on Blue Sky and Instagram. Yes, that is right. Blue Sky is probably where I'm leaning towards in terms of, my socials, and maybe stepping away from X more towards Blue Sky. So follow me on Blue Sky. If you'd like to also check out my video content and more, you can head over to my new website, foolishfuji.com. All the links will be in the show notes. That's it from me. Remember to look after yourself and your mental health. And happy thinking, friends.